Hello, everyone. I'm going to give the tech team a chance. We're fixing something up back there. How's everybody tonight? Good. Good. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Rebecca Friedrichs is getting all mic'd up. I'm so excited that you guys get to hear from her tonight. Very excited. But first, a little bit of business. As you leave tonight, you'll notice at the tables near the door, we have some of these books, Teach, Teach, Teach. These are books that Sandra Carranza, the founder and principal of Keystone Christian Schools, wrote, and she is offering them free to all the teachers that are here tonight. So, and if you're a homeschool teacher, you're a teacher. So all the teachers in the room can pick up this book free from Sandra Carranza. And then and I'm sure Rebecca will be talking more about her book. We have 25 of Rebecca's books that you can buy tonight for these books are $27, but tonight, while Rebecca's here, they're going to be sold for $17, and she's going to sign your books. So you can purchase those in the bookstore, and then she'll be right out there to sign those books. Another thing I want to offer you, and you'll be interested in this probably after you hear her talk, at that table where she'll be signing books, there is a place for you to sign up to receive her email newsletter updates. So you'll want to print as neatly as possible, because you know how we all get with our printing and then we can't read what we wrote sometimes ourselves. So your name and your email address, and she will add you to her newsletter list. So if you want to do that later, I'll try to remind you of that in a little while. But some of you might have been here the Wednesday night in early September when I showed a short video of Rebecca and talked to you a little bit about her. I first heard and learned of Rebecca during COVID, early spring. I was watching a video online from the Heritage Foundation about the over-sexualization of our children. It was it was a summit, so it was like a 4-hour thing. It was very long, and Rebecca was right in the middle of that. But I was so alarmed by what I was learning at this summit. I came to staff meeting the next week, and I said, we have got to inform our teachers and parents of this information and what's going on. And so one thing led to another, and here we are tonight. Rebecca Friedrichs is our guest. I'm so excited that she's here. She is the face of the national movement to restore the voices and authority of parents and teachers in our public schools. She's a 28-year public school teacher with California. You're going to learn a lot more about that. She, along with 10 other teachers, sued the California Teachers Association, and their case was taken to the Supreme Court in 2016. They were actually going to win their case, and sadly, Anthony Scalia died. And so then it became deadlocked, and when a case like that is deadlocked, that means the other side wins. So that was a sad, sad moment. But from that, a lot of good things have happened. Rebecca wrote her book, and by the way, I read this book, and my first reaction is I'm sick to my stomach, because it's stories about what the teachers' unions are doing, not just in California, but it's something that we all need to read and we need to know. So I encourage you to do it, and we're going to get involved. We're going to learn ways we can get involved. But yeah, I was sad and sick to my stomach about what's going on. And you think, well, I'm homeschooling, or my kids are in private school, so I don't have to worry about that. Actually, the teachers' unions are fighting against homeschool families and charter schools with everything they're worth. And the unions are organized, and they're funded, and people get paid to go do these things, and they get paid to go to our legislatures and all that. And we have to band together, parents, and we have to stand up against them. In fact, I'll tell you, because we're still waiting on what they need to do there in the back, through all of this, I researched to find out if Texas is an education choice. In other words, where parents can choose where they want to send their school and they can have tax dollars go with them. Texas has zero choice. I was really shocked because, they say Texas is a conservative state, but we have zero school choice in Texas. Now, just to put this in context for you, In Sweden, where my daughter lives and my son-in-law is a teacher in the public school system, you can choose at all ages where you want to send your kid to school, and the money goes with the kid, all of it. Isn't that interesting? In social democratic Sweden, all the tax dollars follows the student whatever school they choose. I mean, here in America and right here in Texas, we have zero choice on where we want to send our kids. So as I was talking to these folks, I talked to a lady who's with EdChoice. They're an organization that tries to help lobby our legislatures. They are working with a lot of other organizations that are helping lobby our legislatures to get school choice here in Texas. And she said, the problem is, Lorraine, the legislatures, they listen to me. I tell them what we need, what we're trying to do, give us some school choice. They always say to me, this sounds really wonderful, and I know this would be great for my constituents. It would be wonderful, but I never hear from the parents or the citizens. The unions are here all the time, and they're the ones I hear from. Well, when she told me that, I said, Julie, tell me what I need to do, and I will mobilize at least my church in Texas and whoever else I have influence with when we need to contact our legislatures and tell them we want school choice. So that's just a little thing to be on the lookout for. We just need to get involved, like I said, because these unions, you're going to hear tonight, they're bullies, they're filthy, they're disgusting. Teachers, you're going to learn, you're going to be dismayed when you learn what your dollars are funding and you don't even realize it. I want to tell you teachers that we are behind you. Like, I want all of our teachers to just rise up and stop paying union dues immediately. We support you. We adopt you. Harvest Christian Center has your back, and you can count on that for sure. So, without further ado, I think Rebecca's all mic'd up. Is Rebecca all mic'd up? All right, and let us pray together. Is that what you're telling me, giving me hand signals to do? So, at the end, so Rebecca's going to talk for about an hour. At the end, we're going to have question and answer time. There's microphones here. Someone's going to be here to wipe the microphone off every time somebody talks, so you don't have to worry about spreading any germs that way. All right? Thank you, Lord. Thank you for people like Rebecca, who is your daughter. She is your daughter who you've called. You've placed in strategic places in all her life, and you've called her to stand in this gap. And now you're calling us to do what we can do, Jesus, as parents, to stand against this tide, this really spiritual darkness, satanic tide that is coming against our families and trying to destroy our children. Help us to do our part, Lord. Order every conversation tonight. Help us, Lord, to be emboldened by your Spirit to do what we can do and to do our part, and not to be run by fear, but to have courage because we know that God lives in us, God. We thank you, Jesus. Lord, we pray for all of our people, maybe some who aren't with us, who are sick or they've been put into quarantine. We're trusting you to continue to keep us well and healthy. You made our bodies to fight sickness and disease. Help us to keep our bodies strong and healthy and keep us well. And we pray all these things in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Rebecca. Yes.
Thank you. That was great. Okay, check. Am I popping, guys? Sound okay? It kept getting caught in my hair, so your pastor fixed it for me. It is so delightful to be here tonight. First of all, I love Texas. My daddy was born and raised in Arkansas, and I have a lot of family across Texas. And my son plays for the Midland Rockhounds, which was canceled this year due to COVID. So he's in California now. But just delighted to be here with you tonight. And are the slides only going to be in the middle? Is that how this works? Okay, I like to move around, but my presentation is very dependent on the slides because I'm showing you a lot of proof of the things I'm sharing with you. So if you're sitting in a spot where you can't see the center screen with the slides, feel free to move so that you can see them, and I'll give you a sec to do that. So I always start my talks with an apology. And my apology is to all of you but particularly to the men in the room, because I'm about to share some things with you that I never dreamed I would ever say in private, let alone in front of men, let alone in a church, in front of a pastor. But I have to say it because these things are being taught to little children in our schools. And it started in California and Oregon, and it's hit Texas. It's here. And it's nationwide, and I'm going to show you how that works. If anyone has small children, babies are fine. But if you have small children in here, it'd be smart to remove them for the first 10 minutes of the talk, because I'm going to share some of the highlights with you of what's being taught to children worldwide. Thanks to, I like the way Lauren put it, a very evil movement that sadly is led by unions. And just to clarify that, I'm not talking about private carpenters' unions. I'm talking about government unions. And they're not really unions at all. And they're not teachers at all. They are really Marxists, activists, who are trying to undermine a parental authority and teachers. They call themselves teachers' unions. So when I say teachers' unions tonight, I'm not referring to real, good, loving teachers like the ones that are here tonight, and I'm not referring to good unions that actually do good work for their members. I'm referring to people who are masquerading as teachers and unions. So, gentlemen, I apologize. I'm going to start with some highlights. And if you could take the slide to the next slide. So I call it sex ed, S-E-X-X, ed, because the picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And it really is triple X. I think if we made a movie out of what we're teaching our kids in the classroom or what activists are teaching our kids in the classroom, it would be rated triple X. And I think that's scandalous and wrong. So here's just some highlights. In 2013, I received an email from a mom in California, and the subject line was the latest horror. The horror she described was a curriculum being used in her daughter's 5th grade classroom. Her daughter was 11. This mom was, she didn't share, a whole lot with me. I'm pretty conservative. She was more on the liberal side. But we shared love for children, and we shared love for decency and what's right. And she knew this was wrong, so she was fighting it. The curriculum that invaded her daughter's classroom was called Making Proud Choices. It's written by Planned Parenthood. It's one of 6 curriculums that's currently adopted by the state of California, approved. Who approved it? The ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Southern Poverty Law Center, the California Department of Ed, the teachers' unions. Not parents. Parents across California are fighting this tooth and nail. Here's the highlights. The mom pointed out a lesson to me called the condom relay races. I read it. In the condom relay races, the teacher is told to line the children up in 2 lines in mixed company, because we're no longer allowed to assume gender. So everyone has to be mixed together. Mixed company, the children are lined up. We're not allowed to call them boys and girls anymore, by the way. Children, students. Line them up, and after teaching them all the steps needed to use a condom properly, the teacher is then told to pull out 2 anatomically correct, fully erect adult male penis models and to set them on the table in front of the children. Fathers upset yet? Now the children are supposed to have a race. First child in each line runs, puts the condom on. They have to say all the steps in using the condom on this model. The curriculum says if the child gets it wrong, they have to go back and repeat the steps. I know myself, 11-year-old little girl, I never would have gotten married if I was put through that abuse. And I really think that's part of the plan. So the children are supposed to do this, until one team finishes fastest, and that's the winner. And the teachers literally told in the curriculum, make this a fun activity. This is child abuse. This is teacher abuse. This is parental abuse. It's abuse. And it doesn't belong in our schools. And, it's evil. And that's just one highlight. Here's some more. We're being told to teach the children how to use dental dams. Dental dams are a piece of vinyl about this big meant for oral surgery. We are told now to teach our children to use dental dams as a shield between their mouth and their partner's vulva, vagina, or anus for oral on anal sex. That's an attack on our religion, in addition to abuse and everything else. We're also told to tell these kids that they should have anal sex because they won't get pregnant that way. That's a direct attack on God and every religion I know of. We're also told to tell these children that they have the right to obtain every form of birth control for free and abortions for free without parental knowledge or permission. You can take your child to school in the state of California and many other states, drop your child off, your child can be taken for an abortion, you pick your child up at the end of the day, you'll never know. Only you'll know because your child will start to be depressed and whatever else for life, holding on to that secret. I know women who had abortions when they were younger, and if they haven't worked through it with the Lord, they have addictions, they have all kinds of issues in life, and they would admit it to you if they aren't full of shame and too ashamed to talk about it. 68 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. That's a lot of women out there grieving, and a lot of men too, because these children had fathers. So anyone who's had an abortion, by the way, it's so important to talk to someone safe about it and go to the Lord with it and find that healing. He redeems you from those things. But our children are being told to keep it a secret. I told my boys when they were little, look, I'm teaching you abstinence. I'm teaching you to wait till marriage. But if something happens and you have a girlfriend and she gets pregnant, we want to know. We want to help. We want to find a family or raise that baby, whatever the Lord leads us to do. The state is taking away the rights of parents, dividing families, and attacking our faith. In California, a 4-year-old preschool, a 4-year-old could innocently go to a government-run preschool. And if that poor child has an union activist teacher, because like I said, great teachers would never teach this stuff, and I'll show you in the presentation how they get around great teachers to make sure that all kids get damaged. But if you have a little 4-year-old in preschool, this is what 4-year-olds are being told. When you were born, your parents didn't know your gender, so they assigned you a gender. You'll figure out your gender someday. There's really a spectrum of genders, never-ending spectrum, and you can choose from that spectrum. Wow. That's against God. I created the male and female. That's against biology, DNA, parents. You get that? Your parents told you, assigned you. Oh, your parents are old fuddy-duddies. You know better than your parents. They're teaching. Scripture says, honor your father and mother. The first commandment with promise, you will live long on the earth. They're telling them not to obey their parents, not to believe science. I'll show you a little more about the science in the presentation. This is called Comprehensive Sexuality Education, or CSE. I'll refer to it as CSE throughout my talk. Comprehensive Sexuality Education has been pushed through the United Nations for decades. The World Health Organization And yes, the CDC. The CDC is unionized. Any organization in this country that has a government union running it, well, almost every, is corrupt. They've been completely corrupted. How were they corrupted? Through the government unions. The unions were used as the source to bring in the corruption. So the CDC, well, I'll show you in the slideshow. So those are just the highlights. Let's go to the slideshow so I can show you, just give you some evidence. So I'm going to give you a lot of California examples tonight, and that's just because I'm from California and we unfortunately were the tip of the spear. But I tell my students and my sons, when you train under a heavier weight, you come out stronger than your opponents. And in California, we've trained under a very heavy weight. Don't believe that all Californians are nutsy fruitcakes who believe this stuff. We don't. We don't. There are many Christians in California on our knees begging God to give us our state and our country back. Begging Him. We're out. We're doing everything we can. We believe great things can come from the state of California. So when someone tells you we're a bunch of nuts and we should have an earthquake and fall off the end, please say, no, I know some good people in California. So what's happening to you in your state is what happened to us. We were taken over, and we're fighting out. So the California Healthy Youth Act, Comprehensive Sexuality Education, had these bill sponsors in California. Look out for these folks. The ACLU, California Latinas for Reproductive Justice. You a Latina tonight? You agree with this nightmare? No, they're not representing you. They're using you, just like they use me. The teachers' unions, supposedly teachers support this. We do not. I don't know one teacher who supports this nightmare. Forward Together. Is this an organization? Equality California. And I asked Loran to remind me. My husband Charles is here tonight. I'll make sure you get to meet him. Great guy. We were just reading an article about Texas. Your Texas Board of Education is voting on this in November. Your Austin Board of Education already agreed to it. So who's pushing it on your Texas Board of Education? Equality Texas. That's the same organization as Equality California. Planned Parenthood, of course, affiliates of California, so you probably have Planned Parenthood affiliates of Texas. Next slide. Here's what most people are really surprised about. They're not so much surprised about the last slide, but it's this one. Who were the coalition of supporters for this radical sex ed agenda in our schools? The California School Boards Association. I don't know any school board members, decent people, who agree with this. But the teachers' unions took over the school boards a long time ago, and the School Board Association. The California Teachers Association, that's our state-level National Education Association. Yours would be Texas Education Association. Or Texas Federation of Teachers is another one, California Federation of Teachers. So CTA and the PTA. California Parent Teachers Association, PTA. So I have a chapter about this in my book. In the 60s, the PTA was bullied by the teachers' unions into a stance of neutrality. They now will take no stance opposite of the teachers' unions. So if the teachers' union says, accept this radical sex ed, the PTA accepts it and fights for it. I go to the California State House regularly with many other Californians who, on our own dime, take time off of work and go fight against this stuff. There's hundreds of us speaking against it. There's 10 of them speaking for it. They're always from the PTA, the teachers' unions, Planned Parenthood, ACLU, same organizations. Okay, next slide. So I want to kind of show you how they do this, how the teachers' unions get around this, because they'll say, oh, we don't do this. They do. They're behind it all. They lobby for it. They fund it. They organize it, everything. So here's just an example of how they get away with it. California Assembly member Shirley Nash Weber. She sponsored and passed the California Healthy Youth Act, which made CSE a requirement in California schools. So CSE is now in many states, threatening yours now. CSE is the gateway for the sexually explicit materials. It's what allows in what I read to you. And they use something called the Healthy Teen Network to help push CSE. Healthy Teen Network is a coalition of almost 200 organizations, all special interest groups around probably around the world, but definitely around the country. Their goal is to be into every state, all 50 states, by 2020. That's this year. Who did they give their award to? Shirley Nash Weber. Why? Because she sponsored the bill to get it passed in California. They'll do the same for whoever does it in your state. Next slide. So Healthy Teen Network, I said, works with this huge coalition, and they have something called Productive Health Rights and Justice, and they bring, quote, Sex Ed for All Month. That's in May. Used to be Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month. They use constantly, the unions and these organizations constantly use, anybody read 1984, Orwell? Yeah, some of you have. What did they call that in that, what did he call that in that book? Something talk. When they switch the meanings of words. You know what I'm talking about? So they'll say Sex Ed for All Month. You, double think, thank you. Double speak. Thank you, Charles. To you, sex ed means the boys are in one room, the girls are in another room. We're going to learn biology, right? We learn how our bodies change. So you hear sex ed for all month, you don't get alarmed. Well, it doesn't mean that anymore. It means something totally different, only they never told you. That's their double think or double talk. Okay, so this Healthy Teen Network, who works together, helped write the professional sex ed learning standards with Planned Parenthood and trains sex educators nationwide. Next slide. So they're very involved, Healthy Teen Network. So now I'm just going to show you a sampling of some of the virtual learning Healthy Teen Network has available right now. You can see this on their website, that if your child or some other child has an activist teacher, could be exposed to this. If it was my class, they wouldn't be exposed, but an activist teacher. Okay, this is on the Healthy Teen Network website, and this is called 5 Tips for Your Sexual Health During COVID-19. Now, I took screenshots so it'll fit in the slide, but I did it so that you can, see that they go together, so to prove that this is all the same page. Okay, so one of these clouds says, now mind you, this is for kids. Sexting feels fun, but a lot of adults tell me I'm bad or risky if I do. There we are, separating the kids from the adults. People are saying a safe practice while social distancing is masturbating, but I don't know how. Next slide. There's the bottom, just so you can see it's the same page. And then she starts her lesson. What are her 5 tips? Next slide. 5 tips for COVID-19, or for your sexual health during COVID-19. And at the top, you can't see it because it's written so small for where you are. She says specifically, this is both for young people or adults. And by the way, the gal that wrote this is a recent graduate in environmental studies. She's the sex ed expert. Okay, what are her 5 tips for your kids? Number 1, sexting. And she tells them, did you know that sexting makes women feel empowered? And then if you don't know how to sext, she gives a live link right there that the child can click on, and it takes them to a page I'll show you in a minute with 54 ideas for how to sext. It's not only dangerous, it's a good way to destroy your life. Number 2, solo sex, otherwise known as masturbating. She asks the kids, unsure how to do it? No problem, I'll teach you. Click on this link. They can learn. Number 3, you should look at porn. No joke. Number 3, you should look at porn. And then it's written so small, sorry. She says, find out why young people watch porn and what they learn from it. Interested in watching porn? And she gives them live links. Number 4, date yourself. Number 5, go online on social media. It's full of experts who are sharing resources on, quote, how to use sex toys, tips for dirty talk. And then she gives them links to these experts. I didn't have the guts to follow the links, but I asked our video guy we work with to follow them. He was stunned with what he saw. These teachers who say they're CSE experts with penis models, huge, just disgusting stuff. This is what they're pushing on our kids. This is why we have to fight. What happened? Let's be honest. Not every church, but the church fell asleep. Yes. The church quit fighting. The church got politically correct. The church got scared. How do we fight back? The church stands up again. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Next slide. We can fight this in no time at all. We just have to fight. We have to stop being scared. And man, we need you men. Boy, do we need you to lead the fight. Okay, remember I told you she had a link for 54 tips on how to sex? So I took a few screenshots of that for you. You can see all this for yourself, Healthy Teen Network, when you get home, and you'll be shocked at what she leads you to. So 54 sexting ideas you wouldn't have thought of. Yeah, because they never even thought to sext in the first place. She's a child abuser. Okay, she says, feeling uninspired? Here are some out-of-the-box ideas. Next slide. I'm not going to read them all to you, but here's just a sampling. Number 3, show your partner a place on your body that tingles for their touch. Number 5, encourage your partner to try something entirely new in the bedroom. Next slide. Note the things on the side. Handcuffs. Number 8, ask your partner to share a porn scene they enjoyed and why that turns them on. Number 9, I'm just even embarrassed to read it, but number 9, tell your partner how much you enjoy seeing their facial expressions as they climax. This is not sex education. This is sexualization of little children. And I'll say it again, and I'll say it 1,000 times. It's child abuse. And it's undermining parental authority. I do not know one parent, not one. We even have LGBTQ parents fighting with us. They don't want this. It's not the school's job, it's not the state's job to sexualize our children. They're out of line. Next slide. This is at the very bottom of her sexting ideas. I underline the parts that shock me the most. Asking your partner if they want to invite a third person into the bedroom may be totally sexy text if you've discussed threesomes before. The other underline, whether that relationship is a casual one-night stand or a long-term thing. They're teaching our kids to sleep around. And these liars, I'll say it, these liars claim that what they're doing is causing less pregnancy. That's a lie. They're telling our kids to sleep around. They're cheapening what God made to be beautiful, and that is sex between a man and a woman in a monogamous relationship called marriage. They're cheapening it. They're making it dirty. They claim that they're for women. No, I'm a woman. What they're doing is cheapening who I am. They're making men think that I'm an object. And they're actually making girls think boys and men are objects. That's a lie. And I'm not afraid to say it. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Next slide. So, if you're a teacher in here tonight, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your teachers' union's behind all of that. They agree with it. They stand with it. They fund it. When you go on to these, to the list of 180 organizations, you won't see the teachers' union there. They're too clever for that. But every organization that's on there works with the teachers' union, in coalition with the teachers' union, or partnership, or they've approved the curricula that the organization's written, or they recommend it, lobby for it. The teachers' unions collect about $5 billion with a B annually from teachers alone, tax-free. And they use it to do this and to push other nasty things in our culture. Every problem you see in our culture right now, teachers' unions behind it. And other government unions. When you add up all the money, billions and billions. But we're just looking at teachers' unions tonight. $5 billion, tax-free. Did you know that most teachers are Christians? 85% are still paying these unions. They don't know they don't have to pay them anymore. Our lawsuit and another lawsuit after ours freed them. And I'll talk about that at the end. So it's our job to educate those teachers. And a lot of them know, but they're too terrified to leave. So it's our job to get around them. I'll show you that at the end too. So what other things are teachers' unions behind? I'm going to show you some highlights of the National Education Association. There's also American Federation of Teachers, but I'm just going to show you this one. This is the way bigger union. They have about over 3 million members. The other one has 1.7, I think. But they're in cahoots. Every year, NEA has what's called representative assembly meetings. 8,000 teachers converge, and they make decisions for every teacher in the country. My friends who have attended for decades have been spit upon when they dare to speak out against the sex ed. They've been booed off the platform when they dared to defend parents and childhood innocence. They've been barred from committees. You name it, it's happened to these teachers. I served at the local level and went to state level meetings. I was bullied, silenced, isolated. The unions do not stand for teachers. They stand against us. And they use us to fund a very radical, mean agenda. And most teachers don't know that. 85% are still paying them, or think they have to, or are too afraid to stop because the union is like the mafia. They use mafia tactics against us. I have dozens of examples of that in my book. By the way, in my book, which I know Loranne, I gave your church my cost on the books. So I know she has some really low-cost books for you tonight. I have 3 chapters in the book on the sex ed alone. So a lot of that information's in there. Chapter on the PTA. There's a chapter on something we're not going to talk about tonight, but how our classrooms have become war zones, how we can't discipline the kids anymore. That's the union's fault, too. It's all the teachers' union, all of it. And teachers go running to them, help me, help me. And the union pretends to help, and they are the fox in the hen house. Okay, so in 2017, 2018, I'm just going to show you some samples of some of the things they passed in their business items. So next slide. All right, they have something called Resolution B53. This is their sex education resolution. It goes on for pages. It's a book that's kind of like their Constitution. It's about 80 pages now, and every year when they pass resolutions, they get added to that booklet. So I just want you to see the highlighted part. Within their sex education, they believe, the NEA believes, teachers and health professionals must be qualified to teach in this sex ed area and must be legally protected from censorship and lawsuits. Why? Unless we all want to sue them and censor them, right? Why would they do that? It's underhanded. Next slide. Again, you just need to look at the highlighted part. I want to help you to see what their main focus is. B, they insist we have diversity of culture. You wondering who's been dividing everybody by color, class, religion, whatever? That's the teachers' unions. They're behind it all. All of it. Teachers aren't, but the union that claims to support them is. So they insist on diversity of culture, diversity of sexual orientation, and gender identity. Okay, so just remember those words. Next slide. This is from the California Teachers Association website. You could go find this today. They're bragging that they were behind passing a new law in 2013 in California that accommodates transgenders. What did this law do? Well, it tells us this groundbreaking legislation will allow transgender students in public schools to participate fully in all school activities, sports teams, and programs that match their gender identity beginning January 1st, 2014. Transgender students will also be entitled to use the restroom and locker rooms of the gender they identify with, regardless of the gender on their birth records. Who's at fault for boys dominating girls' sports? The teachers' unions and their coalition. I was a female athlete my whole life. My dad was my coach. My dad ran the booster club. We worked our tails off to get girls some kind of equality in sports. My brothers always had these great fields and lights, and I was playing on grass with holes in it and twist my ankle as a softball player. And the teachers' unions are robbing that from me. Most teachers are women. Why are they behind that? I don't know anybody that thinks it's okay for boys to dominate girls' sports. And then boys in girls' locker rooms? I don't know one teacher that's okay with that. But teachers passed it. And then at the bottom, they brag some more. Several teacher and parent organizations, including the California State PTA and the California Teachers Association, supported it. I don't know one parent that's okay with boys dominating girls' sports or boys in the girls' locker room. But guess what? If you're a PTA member, you paid for that. Next slide. This is the front of California Educator magazine. Your teachers would get something similar in Texas. When you're in the teachers' union, this is forced on you. Most teachers throw it in the trash and never read it. I hope they start reading it because they'll be shocked at what they're funding. So in California Educator magazine, this was in March of 2017, the teachers' unions told us we need to embrace the gender spectrum. That's what I told you earlier. Your parents don't know your gender, or there's really a spectrum of genders. So the spectrum is just getting massive. It's like there's just an unending number of genders. They literally tell kids, you could be a boy one day and then a girl, or a tree. Literally, I've heard them say tree. You can just, and then they tell them, because we're all transgender. So we wonder why we used to have a very fraction of 1% of people who struggle with transgender identity, and now it's all of a sudden exploding. It's the teachers' union's fault. How dare they? And you know what? I'm not afraid to say it. There's more kids committing suicide now, too. I wonder why. When you don't know your identity, you're in trouble. I know some people who don't know their identity. I know my identity. I'm a daughter of the King of Kings. And that gives me strength to get through really difficult times. And that gives me, solid grounding. Nobody's going to tell me I'm a tree. No, I'm made in the image of God. So our children are being taught a lie. At the very least, their faith is being undermined by the schools, by the teachers' unions, by those masquerading as teachers' unions. Okay, so you'll notice on the page I have open, what I circled, the pronouns. Teachers are now being fired if they refuse to use the pronoun of a child's choice. So a boy believes he's a girl, and a teacher's told, you have to call him or her. And a teacher says, I just can't do that. This, it's against my religion, or I don't want to promote something that is false, or you're keeping it a secret from the parents. In California, they keep it a secret from the parents. A boy could be a girl all day at school, have a different name, and the parents don't know. And we have all these children coming out at graduation, and it's the first time their parents know they've changed their gender. I'll say it again, that's evil. You do not undermine parents. The children belong to God first, the parents second. They do not belong to the state. Communists think children belong to the state. Are we starting to see communism here? That's what it is. It's communism. The unions have been infiltrated by Marxists. I told you that at the beginning. Happened years ago. That'd be another talk. But it's true. And this is just evidence of it. So this little girl you see up in the picture is not a girl. They're calling this child Lily, but this child is a boy, transitioning to be a girl. And the Teachers Union magazine is cheering this on and telling teachers, we need to support this. We need to create a safe environment. Look, every loving teacher I know creates a safe environment for every child, even a child that might be going through something like this. But that doesn't mean teachers have to join in on the fairy tale and undermine parents and lie. Part of being a teacher is having high integrity and being a person of honesty, not lying to parents. Next slide. Okay, so this is, I think, the most important slide you'll see tonight. And it's from a new business item that the National Education Association passed in the name of teachers, of America's teachers, in my name, in 2017. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but the underlined parts are especially important. In partnership with Southern Poverty Law Center. I don't know if y'all know about them. I'm going to show you a little bit in a couple of minutes. It's not good. Southern Poverty Law Center, NAACP, that used to be great but has gotten corrupted, ACLU, GELSON, that's Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, National Center for Trans Equality Human Rights Campaign. Human Rights Campaign sounds really nice. It's not. And any other legal and human rights groups and related concerns, NEA will track incidents of discrimination, racism, homophobia, transphobia, and it goes on and on. You wondering who makes up these words, homophobia, transphobia? It's teachers' unions. My friends and I have been there and listened as they use these terms for years, and then all of a sudden they start coming out in the form of Democrat talking points. And you go, where'd that come from? Well, it came from the teachers' union because it's their petri dish. This is who supports their messaging. So it sounds really nice to track racism, but you all have seen what's been going on. It's kind of a flip, you know. What they're doing, if you see the underlined part, they're working to eradicate hate and do training on unconscious bias. I'm going to start with the unconscious bias. Teachers today, and this has been going on for years, started in Minnesota first. No surprise with what we just saw happen there. White teachers like myself, by the way, I have some Native American in me, but that doesn't matter. I have white skin. So white teachers like myself are being bullied and being told, you're a bigot, you can't help it, no matter what you do, you're a bigot, you're a racist because you're white. Doesn't matter if you have a black brother or black wife or husband, doesn't matter if you've never been a racist in your whole life, doesn't matter if you are a Christian and you believe that all people are created equal in the image of God, doesn't matter, you're a racist. This is what teachers are going through in states and districts that have been infiltrated by this agenda. You might not have experienced this yet in Texas, teachers, because you're later. You will. Well, hopefully not. Let's fight it so you don't have to. But definitely in California and hugely in Minnesota, probably Illinois. Okay, so that's the unconscious bias training. Now, eradicate hate. What does that mean? That sounds really nice, to eradicate hate. None of us like hate. We want to all get rid of hate. Well, what does that mean to the teachers' unions? Next slide, I'll show you. So we just said they work in partnership with Southern Poverty Law Center, right? Well, this is the home page for SPLC. At the time I took this screenshot, they had 954 groups that they named hate groups in America. It's now over 1,000. And I hope you'll go home and look at it. And if you click on these little boxes, sort by all groups and states, you can find out the exact groups and where they are and who they label haters. Do you know that most of the groups are Christian, Catholic, conservative, Jewish, Republican? There's a few skinhead groups on there, but it's mostly people of faith and people with conservative values, which tend to be people of faith. Judeo-Christian virtues. We're the haters in their eyes, folks. We're the haters. And the teachers' unions want to eradicate hate with Southern Poverty Law Center. Who are they trying to eradicate? Us and your kids and good teachers. Okay, so next slide. This is just a few of the groups that are on the hate list right now. You might recognize some of them. Traditional Values Coalition, Christian. Alliance Defending Freedom. Remember the guy who bakes cakes for everybody? And he served gay people all the time, but someone came and said, we want you to bake a cake for our gay wedding. He said, I'm sorry, that's against my religion, but I'm happy to recommend another baker to you. They sued him, right? He's on the third lawsuit. They just keep bullying him. They just keep coming after him and suing him, right? Alliance Defending Freedom is the organization that defends him all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So they got put on the hate list. United Families International, that is an NGO, a non-governmental organization. I have a friend who is a volunteer there. She's a lobbyist at the UN. She's been fighting against the comprehensive sexuality education for decades. So they're on the hate list. Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus, he's a personal friend of mine. He's an attorney in California. You know what he fights for? Religious liberties. Parents whose kids are abused by comprehensive sexuality education. He's on the hate list. Conservative Republicans of Texas. That might be some of you. American Family Association, I think they have, 300 Christian radio stations around the country. Dr. James Kennedy Ministries, Truth in Action. San Diegans for Secure Borders and the American Border Patrol. What's that all about? I'm going to show you some pictures later, but the teachers' unions are the ones standing for sanctuary cities, to abolish ICE, bring down borders. They're the ones that call our president all those horrible, hateful names. I mean, it's the teachers' unions. They have billions. It is crazy. Whoever said that, I agree with you. And check out the last one, the Pray in Jesus' Name Project. Sounds like a whole lot of haters. That's us. I'd be in something called Pray in Jesus' Name Project, because Jesus' name, that's where the power is. Amen. And that's why these people want to get rid of us or silence us, because they know we've got the power. And you know what? The church listened to them for decades. We're done, aren't we? Amen. It's time to stand up. I love this sister with her amens. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster now through a couple of these business items. I'm just trying to show you some proof. So another business item they passed says that they're going to work to combat the insidious hate speech and actions of white supremacists, nationalists, and the so-called alt-right. That's us. We're the alt-right to them. So, teachers, you're spending $40,000 combating me and yourself. Next page, or next slide. This one is disturbing to me. This is on the California Teachers Association website, again, and you'll find these things or things like them on the NEA website, on different state teacher union websites. I'm just in California, so this is where I do most of my research. This is a toolkit. It's called the Social Justice Toolkit for Students, made by Southern Poverty Law Center and the teachers unions and others. Children can literally go, I've gone through the entire, it's a long scroll down page on their website. I've gone through the entire thing multiple times. Children can click on live links that take them directly to Southern Poverty Law Center, where they can report their parents, their teachers, their classmates as haters. Guess what makes you a hater? You believe marriage is between a man and a woman. You believe there's only two genders. You believe science says there's only two genders. I don't know, you believe that Jesus Christ raised from the dead or something. You're a hater. They can report you. Orwellian, again. Next page, or slide, sorry. These are just some pictures that are on that toolkit. These are posters that teachers and students can get for free from the teachers union. This is where union dues are going, and hang them in their classrooms, or take them home and hang them. These first two are California bragging that we're the first state to have 3 genders on our driver's license. I can prove it. I just got a new driver's license, and there it was. I had to choose between male, female, and non-binary. Non-binary means I'm not those two. I'm something else of the spectrum. That's nuts. And the teachers' unions pushed it. That's what's really nuts. I have a question. This is a labor union, supposedly. They're supposed to be helping with wages, benefits, breaks. Why are they controlling our curricula? Why are they pushing sex ed? Why are they abusing teachers that won't go with this. Why are they getting non-binary in our driver's license? Why are they putting boys in girls' bathrooms? Why are they putting boys in girls' sports? They're a labor union. There's something wrong. The third one, resistance is not futile. Resistance, that's communism. You see the communist fist up there? You notice they have it all in Spanish? Oh, they are coming after kids that speak Spanish, Muslim kids, Christian kids, Jewish kids. They're after them. The fourth one on the top is the scariest one of all. Here's what it says. We believe Black Lives Matter. We all know that means the opposite. You can't say all lives matter or you're evil to them. All lives do matter. They're all created in the image of God. Of course, Black lives matter. They're created in the image of God. The next one says, women's rights are human rights. That's abortion. That means we support abortion. Teachers' unions do. They give money to abortion. No human is illegal. That means sanctuary cities, no borders, abolish ICE. Science is real. I'll show you the proof on that one in a minute, but it really means the exact opposite, that fake science. Love is love. That's a pedophilia statement. Pedophilia. And kindness is everything. Well, yeah, that's true, but they're not very kind. Next slide. Another business item, this one is just pointing out that they're committed to refusing, attacking businesses who refuse services to same-sex couples. So just again, proving that they're behind the attacks on like Masterpiece Cake Shop. NEA can access a list of these individuals and their businesses from organizations such as Think Progress, Southern Poverty Law Center. So the hate list again, and then they're going to go after them or boycott them. Is that the job of a teachers union? Is that what a teacher wants? Every teacher I know just wants someone to stick up for them against this kind of stuff, but it's their unions doing it. Next slide. This one I put in here because the teachers union is against, they are in opposition to conversion therapy and reparative therapy. What that is if you're a person who has same-sex attraction, but you don't want it, and maybe you're a Christian and you want to work with your pastor and you want to ask the Lord to help you, redeem you from that, because you really don't want to live that life. They're against that. And in California, they've tried multiple times to push a bill to make it illegal for pastors to counsel people out of the gay or the LGBT lifestyle. Wait a minute, I thought we lived in a free country. I thought if you wanted to be gay in this country, you could be gay in this country, and if you didn't want to be gay anymore, you didn't have to be. But according to the teachers' unions, who are clearly dictators, you have to stay one thing, because that's their narrative. You're born gay, you're always gay, you can't change. Jesus Christ redeems. Amen. And so they're coming against our Redeemer. That's what it's all about from the beginning of time, right? It's always been about coming against the truth and the Redeemer. Next slide. Okay, this is the other, I think, most important slide. To teach you wondering why the government and people in politics keep saying things about science that aren't true, like they keep saying that macroevolution is a fact when there's no evidence in the fossil record. Microevolution, I'll give you, that's adaptation, fine. Macroevolution, you know, a monkey became a human, nah, there's no evidence, and it's anti-biblical. So, but there is plenty of evidence for a creator, intelligent design, but they say that's not true, right? And they say the science backs them, which is a lie, because with every turn of the spade, the science always proves what God already told us, because God created science. Well, the teachers' unions, in order to control the narrative, rewrote the scientific method. Did you know this, teachers? This is straight out of an adopted business item from National Education Association, adopted amendment, 2017. The parts I highlighted in yellow, they struck out. Those are their strikeout lines. This is in my book, by the way, too, if you want a permanent copy. And then the part I highlighted in green, and they underlined that part. That's their addition. Here's what they took out. For scientific method, they took this out. Empirical evidence. derived from valid scientific experimentation. Science, although inquiry-based, is verified through repetitive experimentation using the steps of the scientific process. That's the most important parts. They wiped it out. Okay, if you're using that process, you discover that a whole lot of things that they're claiming are scientific right now are not. They're lying to us and getting away with it. And they say, the science supports it. What science? Their science, the part underlined. Scientific theory that incorporates empirically collected evidence, scientific methodology, and other accepted scientific processes. This entire process leads toward scientific consensus. That's a mouthful. Here's what it means. Whatever their leftist, far left, atheist scientists agree to, that's the consensus. And they're a bunch of weak theories, and they're pushing them as fact. And they're lying to the world. World Health Organization, CDC, Teachers Union rewrites the scientific method. Teachers, good teachers, teach truth. They show all the different beliefs or, this science, this, whatever. They're going to show it all. And they're going to show the evidence, and we're going to use our God-given brains to decide what's fact and what's fiction. We've been doing that for years, till the teachers union showed up. Next slide. Then, if teachers like myself try to push back on that, they passed this. NEA will not accept exhibitors whose messaging is in conflict with Resolution B55. That last one I just showed you was Resolution B55. So my friends, teachers, who go every year and set up these exhibits, were proving that they were speaking out against the comprehensive sexuality education, and they had all this evidence that there really are only two genders, and that this isn't good for children, and that, all the things we've talked about tonight. So they were told, well, if you don't agree with us, you can't exhibit here. Next slide. I am personal friends with the teachers that started these three groups within the National Education Association. They're all Christians. They're amazing educators. Most of them are retired now and still go every year on their own dime to speak up for you and me. They started the NEA Ex-Educators Caucus because some of them are ex-gays who didn't want that lifestyle and were redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. And they were told at the teachers union, oh no, you can't change. So they said, well, we're worried about the kids being told that. We're going to start an ex-gay educators caucus. Then there's a creation truth outreach and creation science educators, all just trying to show evidence that's different from what the unions want. Those are the three groups that were threatened to be banned from presenting. Why? Here's what NEA said. NEA will thoroughly review, evaluate Representative Assembly exhibitors' materials for information that is offensive, obscene, or in bad taste. Those are the three groups that are offensive, obscene, and bad taste. 2 years ago, when the Harvest Crusade, you guys know about Harvest Crusade out here? Calvary Chapel, Greg Laurie started this big crusade called Harvest. Every year, California, it's a big thing. He had a big old billboard, and it was in Newport Beach, and somebody complained, and they had to take it down. You know what 3 talking points they used against that billboard? That it was offensive, obscene, and in bad taste. I read that in the newspaper. I said, teachers unions strike again. Next slide. Okay, I want to help you connect the dots. Most government agencies are controlled by corrupt unions, including libraries. That's why we're having drag queen events at libraries, reading to little children, impressionable children. School boards are corrupt. If your school board is elected by the teachers union, it's corrupt and it's controlled by the teachers union. If you have a school board elected truly by the community and they don't have one penny from teachers unions and they're not being manipulated or bullied by the teachers union, you're probably in good shape. Most school boards around this country are controlled by the teachers unions because they get them elected. That should be illegal, to elect someone and then you're collectively bargaining with them or then you're getting them to do your bidding, it should be illegal. The Department of Motor Vehicles, I don't know about here, but in California, they're in charge of voter registration. They're corrupt, and they're controlled by the unions. The VA, before President Trump came along, VA was a nightmare. It's controlled by unions. The post office, we're having major voter issues, the post office in California. It's run by unions. National, state, local departments of education, all controlled by unions. Foster care system. I just want to ask this question. The highest number of children abused by sex trafficking are foster youth. Why? Why? Unions are in charge there too. Center for Disease Control, CDC, unionized. Sick of wearing a mask? I am, and especially in California. My husband, HIV, and young men who have sex with men. Young men who have sex with men, I've read this multiple times. You scroll down. Not once do they say this is pedophilia. Not once do they say this is wrong. Not once do they say this is child abuse. No, instead they tell teachers we need to support it and that we need to give these kids a safe environment at school so that they can continue this behavior. 14-year-old boys be molested by 24-year-old men. And they're saying it's okay at the CDC. They don't care about our health. That's perverts. I'll say it. That's perverts. California just passed a law saying that if you're a 24-year-old having sex with a 14-year-old kid, if there's only 10 years between your age, you don't have to go on a sex registry. It's disgusting. Somebody said that, and I'm just repeating her. It is disgusting. Oh, if you're 11 years older, then you have to go on the sex registry, but not 10. Those are perverts who are trying to get into our kids' minds and into our kids' pants, and they're sanctioned by the state. These people need to be run out of office and thrown in jail, in my opinion. All right, so, and you can see that I've got not that you can memorize it, but anyway, it's on the CDC website. Next slide is just a little bit more of it. I mean, they show these boys all over each other, making it normalized. And the part I circled, I can't see it because it's so small, but I circled it for a reason, because inside there it's where it tells the teachers that they need to establish supportive school environments for young men having sex with men. I taught 28 years in California public schools. I'd still be there if teachers' unions hadn't destroyed my profession. Somebody had to get out and start fighting for teachers, for parents, and for the innocents, the children. So God asked me to do it, and I did. And there's others doing it too. Otherwise, I'd still be there. I miss my students so much it hurts. I loved teaching. I loved it. My entire career, I was taught by the state that that's child abuse. I had to sign an affidavit that I would report child abuse, and pedophilia was on there. Suddenly it's okay? Everything I described to you earlier that's in the sex ed lessons, all of that I would have had to report as child abuse. Now it's taught in the classroom? Something's desperately wrong here. Next slide. Okay. Now, this is not on the sex ed, just want you to know. Who's behind Black Lives Matter in our schools? Teachers' unions. Who helped start Black Lives Matter? Teachers' unions. It was started by 2 lesbian teachers. Who are trained Marxists and admit it. Who trained them? The teachers' unions. Who pays for it? The teachers' unions. In 2019, they adopted Business Item 19. NEA will promote the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools, including, quote, hiring more counselors, not cops. Who's behind defunding the police? Teachers' unions, and they want police out of our schools. It's all over their documentation. Why would they want police out of schools, especially if it's dangerous school? They are. They are promoting illegal activity. Why are they in our schools? Because teachers haven't said no. If we can get to teachers, if we could just get to Christian teachers, we could get this nightmare out of our schools. It's my goal to make them illegal, these unions. They shouldn't be anywhere near us. Teachers shouldn't have to fight it. They should be gone. But for now, we've won teachers the right to stop paying them. We need to help them to learn that. Black Lives Matter states, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure. Mother, father, and children. They disrupt that. It's insane. That's right off the Black Lives Matter. By the way, they've gotten so much pushback on that, they've pulled it off their website. Thank God millions of us saw it before they did it. Next slide. And this is just proof to you that on business item 19, hiring more counselors, not cops. Number 1, ending zero tolerance policies and replacing them with restorative justice practices. That sounds really nice. Don't let them trick you with restorative justice. That's supposed to be a kid makes a mistake, you walk them through it, you help them, you redeem them. That's great. That's not how they're doing it. They're letting discipline problems rule in our classrooms. I saw it happen in my own classroom. My last couple years teaching, I could barely teach. And I always had great control. No one. I'd send the kids out, the principal, he wouldn't do anything. Hands are tied. Okay, next slide. This one's just, well, you laugh or you cry. But you just can't even believe the stuff they're doing. In this business item, they are working on the removal of Redskins, Braves, Indians, and Warriors mascots. Who's behind picking on your favorite team? The teachers' unions. What does this have to do with supporting teachers? And by the way, I mentioned I'm Native American. I don't have any problem with those team names. I think they're great. Next slide. Okay, this one just talks about how the teachers' unions are calling for a countywide and statewide moratoria on new charter schools. This is National Education Association. They don't want charter schools. I don't think they're big here, but they're big in California. The only way to escape a corrupt public school without having to pay for it is a charter school. Very hard to start one because the teachers' unions block them, want them closed, want them destroyed. They want every child in a publicly run, union-run public school. Next slide. So, American founders told us there's 2 things necessary to keep a free republic: a well-educated and moral citizenry that can self-govern. Next slide. They're taking away the morals. How about are we well-educated? These are our latest NAEP proficiency scores, 2018. Pathetic. They're not even teaching Western Civ anymore. Next slide. The kids that know that stuff, probably their parents taught them. In California, the average teacher pays $1,000 a year in teacher union dues. It's gone up a lot. It's probably, most teachers are probably paying $1,200. Here's how it's broken down. Teachers don't realize this. The state union gets $700. It's up to $720 now. The NEA, $192, I think that's up to $196 now. So the local gets the change. Most teachers like their local. That's their teacher friends standing with them, fighting against a corrupt system. So they like it. Well, that keeps hardly anything. So let's ditch the union and just have our own thing, pitch in a little bit of money, and stand up with each other. So simple. If you want to keep paying big money, well, we could start a child care center on campus for your kids, for the teachers' kids. Next slide. Okay, the unions have, NEA has 3 million members, AFT 1.7 million. So let's add up $1,000 a year, which is low, that's an average, times the 4.7 million, that's almost $5 billion annually. As I mentioned, tax-free, collected by the taxpayer through paycheck deductions, plus millions of teachers as coerced boots on the ground. They coerce and bully teachers to do campaigning, phone banking, to destroy school choice. I know school choice, you don't have school choice in Texas, which I was shocked. You guys need it. Next, because they're attacking you, you're going to want to get out of these schools. Next slide. And I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try to go through these fast. This is just some highlights of where the money goes. There was an organization that did, it's called California Fair Political Practices Commission. They commissioned this study on the top, I think it was top 15 special interest groups that spent the most money to shape California politics. California Teachers Association topped the list at $211 million and change. And below it, the next one was a union, SEIU. And the third one, pharmaceutical. So everybody hates Big Pharma, but the teachers union spent double that of Big Pharma. Way bigger problem. Next slide. Where does that money go? This is just a breakdown of 2016 only of where teacher union money went. You can see that it almost all goes to Democrats or liberal causes. And by liberal, I don't mean classical liberal, I mean leftist, far left, stuff that no Christian would support. So next slide shows you that teachers, the next slide. The circle there, the teachers' unions did, over 35 years, they did 3 studies, internal studies, on the political leanings of teachers, and they discovered that the majority of teachers lean conservative. So they're spending almost 100% of their money on far leftist causes, even though teachers lean conservative. So they shouldn't be doing politics, but they're not even doing the politics of their members. Next slide. And then this is just some paychecks of union leaders. Teachers are usually shocked by this, teachers making $45,000 a year or something. These are from 2013, 7 years ago. President of NEA was making $526,000 and change, and he had a housing allowance. Vice President Lily Eskelsen Garcia, she's the current president, she was making $447,000 and change and had a housing allowance. Secretary Treasurer was making $454,000 and change and had a housing allowance. Next slide. These are just some evidence of what teachers' unions do when they get together. When they have those annual events, they march. What do they march for? Well, I was at this event. I traveled to Minneapolis and watched. They created so much havoc. They closed down major arteries. Of course, the taxpayer had to pay for all of that. But these are teachers from all over the nation marching for sanctuary cities. They're on the left. And this is just the crowd. I always show people that lady's sign says "We are CTA," proving that California was there. Next slide. Marching to abolish ICE. These pictures were on the NEA website. They were bragging about them. That's where I got them. And this one is the biggest heartbreak to me. This young lady who should be taught the golden rule, to treat others the way you want to be treated, who should be taught to respect her elders, particularly the President of the United States, is being taught to give a double flip-off to the President of the United States. That's disgusting. It's unladylike, it's rude, it's disrespectful, and it will make her go nowhere in life. That's not the job of a teacher, to teach a child to behave that way. It's the job of a teacher to teach a child to have integrity, to respect the office. I taught 28 years. My students never knew my politics, never. Always taught them to respect every president, every leader. Next slide. And we're almost done. These are, the girl on the right, I'm not sure who she is, but the gal on the left is a teacher in Arizona who helped start Red for Ed teacher strikes that are going on all over the country. They're not grassroots. They were started by the unions. But this gal's name is Dawn Thacker. You know that teachers' unions are, they're behind #NotMyPresident. Lovely that they're flipping us off. I don't know teachers who flip people off. Teachers are kind, good teachers, real teachers. They don't flip people off. They'd never want a student to see them doing something like that. Here's what her tweet says. Hey, at Real Donald Trump, you suck. #inauguration, #resist, #NotMyPresident. When I was teaching, if I'd have posted something like that, I'd have been fired. Next slide. This is the National Education Association meeting in 2017. During the national anthem, they took a knee. That guy on the right is the president of California Teachers Association. He's taking a knee. Lady in the back in the red is the president of National Education Association. And they gave their highest award, the President's Award, that should go to a teacher who's doing a great job. I know teachers who've adopted their students because the parents died. That's a teacher who deserves an award. Then they gave their President Award to Colin Kaepernick, the NFL football player who leads the Take a Knee movement. Who's behind the Take a Knee movement, guys? How did it grow so fast? How did it get so much attention? Teachers' unions. Does that have to do with teachers? Next slide. This is David Hogg. He's the student voice of March for Our Lives. When Parkland shooting happened and 17 lives were stolen, the students tried to have a vigil. One of the children, Hunter Pollock, wanted to eulogize his sister. He was told he could. He wrote a speech. But when he brought his speech and gave it to the Hollywood producer who was in charge of the student-led event, He was told he couldn't read his eulogy of his sister. You know why? It didn't support gun control. Kids were slaughtered thanks to policies pushed by the teachers' unions and the Obama administration. There's a whole book about it. All because of the policies. That kid never belonged on campus. They knew he was dangerous. The kids knew he was going to kill somebody. But the policies kept him there. And the teachers' unions made David Hogg the voice of it. David Hogg has a filthy mouth. I've heard him F-bomb sitting between his parents multiple times, going out screaming about gun control. Using children and families, children slaughtered, teachers slaughtered, families who will grieve their entire life. I know Andy Pollock, the father of the little girl who was slaughtered that day, 17-year-old Meadow. They don't care. He's grieving. They're just using it to push their anti-gun agenda. Next slide. That's immoral. This is teachers' unions. They're behind Black Lives Matter. They're behind gun control. They're behind Occupy Wall Street. Every grassroots whatever that pops up that's radical left, it's the teachers' unions organizing it. And they're behind Kamala Harris. Next slide. They're behind dumping Trump. They're behind resist and communism and the pink ladies with the pink hats. I use ladies loosely. These are kids in LA who were actually picketing during a teacher strike. Next slide. And one of my favorite quotes by Henry David Thoreau. We used to study him in our schools before the teachers' unions showed up and robbed us of our classical liberal arts education. There are thousands hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. I'm asking people, can we please start striking at the root of the problem? It's these unions. It's the devil. But it's these unions being used to push this stuff and their allies. We can't keep fighting the little issues as they pop up. Even the sex ed, that issue wouldn't be there if we dug out the root. Next slide. So I ask, I can't help myself because I'm a teacher. I always give homework everywhere I go, but it's not hard, and it's actually kind of pleasurable. My homework to you is called Adopt a Teacher. And Loran ran off some of the flyers. We have them on our website too. But it's really simple. It takes 3 minutes to read the flyer. Basically, you embrace a teacher. You educate them on what's really going on. I don't know if this video is going to be saved or not, but they can watch this. They can read my book. My book is written for teachers with the heart of a teacher. It's all testimonies of teachers from across the country. A lot of the stories I told you tonight and more. And help them to be educated and to be enlightened on the truth. When they realize they've been used and duped, empathize with them, and then empower them. Get behind them. If you have to walk with them on campus to help them to leave the union, if you have to walk with them to school every day and stand with them, do it. Our teachers are treasures, good teachers, and we need them. And if they fight against this evil, we all win. Our kids win. So adopt a teacher. Adopt a parent. Let them know about the PTA. By the way, if you're in PTA, you can switch to a PTO. No politics, easy, just Google it, PTO. And I think the last slide, is there one more? Yeah. If you want to, we have a newsletter we send out a couple times a month. Just maybe if I write an editorial or something, we keep you posted. If you want to receive our newsletter, there's 3 ways you can do that. You can either text, if you're a teacher, Rebecca for Teachers to 52886, or if you're a parent, Rebecca for Parents to 52886, or go to our website, forkidsincountry.org, and you can just sign up right there. You can also find all of our social media on our website. I hope you'll go to our website because it's rich. We've worked really hard on it, and there's a lot of info on the sex ed, and there's information for teachers teaching them how to opt out of the union. We even lead them to organizations who will help them for free, lawyers who will answer their questions. So all that info's there at forkidsincountry.org. I think I probably went over my time. So I'm going to let Loran decide if we have time for Q&A, but I hope we do. And you've been an amazing audience, by the way. Thank you. You're great.
We're just soaking it in. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you
so
my
much. We
pleasure.
are
Thank you.
going to take 10 minutes for question and answer time. You can come to these mics. Somebody's going to wipe the mic off after everybody asks a question, but I get the first question. And I want you to talk about the Supreme Court suit that allows teachers and other government employees to stop
Yeah.
paying the union dues.
I'd love to. And what's amazing, anybody watch the hearings today? Amy Coney Barrett? Well, they talked about my case today a lot. And the Janice case, the one that came after mine, because they're still very angry about our case. So the folks that don't like her. So we brought a case. It was 10 California teachers. I was lead plaintiff, so it was named after me, Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association, and we sued National Education Association. All we were trying to do was get teachers and all government employees the right to stop funding unions if they don't want to. And our case was heard at the U.S. Supreme Court, January 2016. We were poised to win 5-4. 1 month later, Justice Scalia died. We lost his vote. Once they die, the vote doesn't count. So we ended up with a 4-4 tie. We officially lost on my birthday. And the good thing was when we took our case, everybody laughed at us. No one, you can't win that. You can't overturn, because we were overturning a Supreme Court precedent from the 70s called a bood. Anyway, when they saw that we were going to win, they started building other cases on our case. Thank God, because when Scalia died and it wrecked everything, another case came up behind ours, used our same arguments, went in. It was called Janice, and they won on my birthday in 2018. So, and I asked God to let him win on my birthday too, by the way. Anyway, so that case has freed every single government employee in the United States from being forced to pay unions. So now they're all still stuck to accept their monopoly control if they're in a unionized workplace. We're working on that. There's other cases going forward right now that are trying to end the monopoly control, but the unions insisted on monopoly control. They complain about it, but they're the ones that insisted on it. Anyway, but you don't have to pay them anymore. Nobody has to pay them a dime. And that's what we need to do. We need to suck them dry. We need to have...
If they have $5 billion of our dollars, your dollars, teachers, yeah. The root's not going to die until you stop funding them.
Exactly.
And I'm behind you. If anybody needs courage, I'll be your courage. I will go right with you wherever you need to go. I am sick and tired of this.
Love her.
This is not a conspiracy theory anymore. The communists have taken over through the teachers' unions.
They have.
Like, it's here. It's no more conspiracy theory. And communism is anti-God and atheistic.
Yeah.
So all this stuff, now we're no longer deceived. We know where it comes from, and it is time for us to speak up. I mean, definitely pray, never-ending prayer, and it's time for us to do stuff like stop paying and funding the unions and vote for the right people.
Precisely.
We've got to do it, or you know, we're sunk. We're sunk.
I love her.
I love you. I love you. Now you guys know why I got her here. We got to know these things. Parents, you have to know these things.
And Lorianne, since no one's up to ask a question, there's a couple things you just said I'd like to piggyback on.
Okay.
So the first one is, if there's teachers here today, or parents, or anyone, and you're thinking of, you all better be thinking of someone to adopt. More than one would be even better. And you're thinking, I want to adopt. I'll come back. I live in California. It's a hop over. I'd be happy to come back. Why don't we fill this room and educate them? Okay, and I will come without charge. You can pay for my flight again. But I told her, if I'm talking to teachers, I'm not charging, because we got to get to teachers. You know what? Firefighters, anyone who's paying these government unions, we've got to get to them. So I will come back, first thing. Second thing, you mentioned communism. There's a book called The Naked Communist. The Naked Communist. Now, I'm hoping you'll read my book because of all the information, but I'm actually pitching someone else's book called The Naked Communist, so you know I think it's great. It was written in 1958 by a gentleman named Skousen, Cleon Skousen. He worked in the FBI. He started noticing what we call now the deep state, the communist infiltration into our country within the government. And so he left the FBI, took 2 years to write this book, The Naked Communist. In his book, he came up with a list of 45 goals of the Communist Party to take over the United States of America by 2020. And he created this list, and it was so compelling and so true that our Congress read it into the congressional record in 1963. It's in the record. I sent you a copy, right, of it. Yep. So Lorraine has it. She can send it to all of you. They have accomplished 44 of the 45 goals to date. 44 of the 45. The one they haven't accomplished is making us all believe we're mentally ill. Communism. There's just, they'll call us kooks for that because they don't want us to be onto them. It's communism. It's obvious if you understand communism. So I recommend that book. It'll help you to see that. And then the last thing I wanted to share is I was supposed to bring a video to show you tonight, a promo video, like a 5-minute video, but our production team's not finished, and we want it to be great. My husband and I started a nonprofit called For Kids and Country, and the reason we did that was to fight for teachers and parents and kids. And my husband and I volunteer to run it. I left my career to do it, so we really believe in this, and we believe God's asked us to do it. So one of the things we've been praying about for years is creating a documentary to expose what's really going on, and God has brought us some seed funding to get started. And so we're working on a promo video, and we want to ask your church to get behind it because we want to show it in churches around the country. So I was going to show our promo, but it's not ready. But I'm going to make this promise to your church that when it's ready, you'll be the first person I send it to, and you can share it with your church family because we'd love to have you get behind it. Be great. Thank you.
Absolutely, we will. Before I forget, anybody have any questions? Line up. I'll give you 5 more minutes. We are going to take an offering for Rebecca. She said she would speak to teachers for free, but we are Harvest Christian Center, and we are generous, and we bless our guests. So, of course, to give if you're in the building here on the West Campus, you can put your offering in the black boxes, and you can mark it on the envelope under Other for Friedrichs, and we'll know where it goes. You can text to give, 84321. Of course, you know how to do that if you've done that. You can go to the church app if you have set up that. You can go to our website, HCC El Paso, hit the menu button, find Give. And I even think on our app and on the website, there'll be a slot for Rebecca Friedrichs, so you'll be able to give, and we'll know how much comes in for her. But we do want to bless her. What she's doing is admirable, and we are so grateful. You are standing in the gap and doing this. I'm glad I watched the Heritage video. Thank you for coming to El Paso. Of course, we'll have you back out here. No questions for Rebecca tonight?
I was so long-winded, they're exhausted.
It's a lot of information, I know, to take in and digest. But I told you a few weeks ago in church, I am awake, not woke, awake. And I'm going to stay informed and keep you informed.
Lorraine, your daddy
do
wants
stuff.
Your daddy wants you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Derek. You have good questions, I know.
Well, I just had a question about promoting the sex thing with the kids. I mean, isn't that illegal? Can't someone stop this through the legal process? The first couple of people that are sentenced for this should put a damper on it.
I love it.
Why hasn't that happened?
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that the virtual, that's through the virtual learning. So I suppose a parent would have to see it happening and witness it.
There'd have to be evidence of it happening.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we should be able to sue for the fact it's even on the website and that they've pushed it.
Why did they take the dating stuff off of Craigslist and Backpage?
Off the what?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference? This is a website that's promoting child sex trafficking. I mean, what?
Yep, and the
job.
link that
you get on there and get on it.
Yeah, I love that, and the link that took them to the 54 sexting ideas. The name of that website is O School, so they're all of them are done in a way, Healthy Teen Network, to where kids would go to them, right? So I think they should be sued just based on what's on the content on their sites. And the California Department of Education sent an email to the county Departments of Education to use some of the information that was on these websites and these scandalous videos. So I agree with you completely. I've been talking to attorneys around the country. We've been hooking them up with parents, anyone who's brave enough to bring a case. I don't know if anybody's brought a case yet, but I agree with you. I think we need a whole lot of lawsuits.
Okay, so I have a question in regards to, for us teachers, my heart is like beating, and it's not for talking in front of people, because anybody who knows me, I don't care. But I'm
bless you.
angry.
Yeah.
I'm mad as a teacher. I'm angry.
Yeah, good for you. And God bless you for serving the children. Thank you.
But I want people to know it's not just everywhere else. This is our local Socorro AFT
Well, oh, so you're under AFT, American Federation of Teachers. They're a little even more
with
radical.
a socialist hand
So
in their
she's- I
email
don't
with
know,
a
probably can't
pencil
see it,
inside of
but-
their fist.
Wow.
It's right.
And this is your local teacher association here in Texas.
Yes, here in because I work for Socorro here
you can
here in El Paso.
Can you see it?
I saved that. I got it weeks ago. That was when they're advocating for our health to not go back to school,
Yeah.
even though most teachers want to go back to school.
Exactly. Exactly. They're making America hate teachers.
Exactly.
Thinking
And-
we're
and
selfish.
The thing is when you were saying this isn't teachers don't support this, teachers don't back this. I've been feeling like that for months now with what's going on in regards to COVID, and they keep saying, we're here for you, we're advocating for you, and I keep asking, who are you advocating for? Because you're not advocating for me.
Yeah.
If you were, I would have a choice as a teacher as to whether or not my students should be in my room.
Exactly.
So anyway, when you were saying all of that, I wanted you guys to know it's not here. So don't be blind to it. Don't think, oh, it's California. California's so liberal. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's here.
It's here.
It's
It's in
in Texas.
Texas.
And stuff is already being passed in Austin for comprehensive sexual education. So
Yep.
we need to start fighting before it does come here, because
Yeah.
it's coming.
And it's not only Austin, there are a few other school districts in Texas who've already passed it.
Yeah.
And like she said tonight, she and her husband were telling me, and I'm
Can
going
you
to get
stay?
on this and let you know, the Texas Board of Education is voting in November. So this is, the
For the whole
teachers
state.
union is deciding whether this is going to come in. So I'll find out more information, but everybody can do the research, and we got to figure out what we need to do here and get this stopped.
Yeah, one thing
Like
that
I
helps
said-
too.
I'm
One thing
sorry.
that helps is if you can assign a couple people in your church to be your researchers and put the information out to everybody in an email blast or whatever, because then everybody can share the load. But I wanted to address, what's your name again? Brianne. I love you already. And thank you for serving the kids. What grade do you teach? Or
Fourth grade.
I taught fourth for years. Love it. Texas history, right?
that's right.
California history. I taught kinder through fourth. So I just want to address you a couple things, and I'm hoping some of your teacher friends are in the room too, so I'm addressing them as well. Number one, I'm currently working, just supporting some friends of mine that I trust who just launched a campaign to give teachers a chance to submit a 1-minute video telling how you want to be in class and how you do not want to be home because of the COVID and why. And the winning video wins $500 Amazon gift card, and they might put one on national TV. So if you or any of your teacher friends are interested, I'd love to hook you up for that. And then the second thing is our organization for Kids and Country, we work with teachers across the country and love to bring more teachers into the fold and give you a network of loving teachers who think just like you. And it's safe. We have a private Facebook page. We have a private email chain. We have volunteers that help answer questions. We have need for more volunteers if people are retired and have time and want to jump in. So I would love to get connected with you tonight. And I think my husband and I probably messed up and forgot my business cards tonight because the COVID has had us, we just started traveling again and we're very unorganized because it's all of a sudden. But I can write it down for you. Would love to stay in contact with you and all your teacher friends here. And last thing, for my book, I wrote book club questions for every chapter. My dream was that teachers would be getting together with parents and doing book clubs, and that's something you and your teachers could start and wake up the teachers in Texas. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes. All right. We have another question over here.
Hello. I'm just very happy that you're here and that you're giving us the information. I too, I work for a school district and I'm under AFT as well. I'm a paraprofessional.
Yes.
And so it's just I want to thank you. It's very informative. And I think many of us that work for the school district, and I think I've heard it from, other teachers or other people under the school district, is that they're scared to leave the union because they're there to help us in any legal cases. And so that's a big thing,
Yeah.
for people that work
Yeah.
with the school system.
I'm so glad you brought this up. What's your name?
Belinda.
Belinda.
Vaz-
First of all, thank you for serving the kids. Are you bilingual?
Yes.
We need you. Yeah, I mean, because you can explain to people in multiple languages, but let me address that. And will you stay just in case I don't get it all, and then you can ask me more. Such a great question, an important question she asked. Teachers believe that if they leave the union, number one, they're going to lose their job. Number two, they're going to lose their contract. Number three, they're going to lose their pension. Number four, they're not going to be able to feed their family. Number five, they're going to be bullied. They'll be bullied. They'll be isolated. That happens for sure. Big thing they worry about is liability insurance, because the way the unions got their foothold in is they told teachers, and Belinda's a paraprofessional, so she's maybe teacher's aide or she works in the office or something like that. So they told everyone, you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued. You need us. You need our liability insurance. Well, let's blow a hole in their lies. Number one, the insurance that the unions provide for you is $1 million coverage per incident. They almost never defend you, and it's only if you get sued. If your boss treats you unfairly and fires you and you did nothing wrong, they won't defend you. I have a teacher friend. I taught with her for 26 years. If we had a student teacher come into the school, the student teacher would be put in my classroom half the semester, her classroom the other half the semester. Okay, so she was top teacher in the district. Amazing teacher. She was chased out of her job in 3 days. Something happened in the classroom, and another kid thought it was something that it wasn't. Said it to her mother, oh, Mrs. So-and-so did this to a kid, which she didn't. It didn't even happen. And they just believed it and pulled her out of her classroom and told her that she was on administrative leave and all this stuff that they do now. Investigation. Nothing happened. She was innocent. She waited for the union all day. The union finally came, and she said, where's my $1 million coverage? They said, oh, we don't cover this. You didn't get sued. This is I forget, investigation or whatever. Yeah, whatever it is. So they didn't cover her. She lost her job. She lost her home. She lost everything. She's still looking for a teaching job because then they blackball you. Okay, so when you leave the teachers union, we don't send you out as an orphan. First of all, we bring you into our network and love on you. But we send you to two trusted organizations. One's called Christian Educators Association International, CEAI. The other's called Association of American Educators, AAE. Both are equally great. One's just overtly Christian, the other one's not. You have to be a Christian to join one. You don't, the other. They sell liability insurance for a fraction of the cost. It's about $200 a year compared to paying the unions all this money that goes to politics. And it's $2 million of coverage, double coverage per incident. And they defend you when you're bullied by your principal or whatever, unfair labor practice, whatever they call it. They actually defend you. Multiple teachers we've had Bible on their desk and got harassed and told that they couldn't do that. They came in and all they did, they write a letter on legal document. Oh, yes, they can. Here's the law, la, 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 la. Shuts the principal right up. Teacher can keep their Bible out. So they do stuff like that, too. So you will not be left orphaned. In fact, teachers think that they're being protected by the teachers' unions. Do you think they are after what I showed you? No. Teachers are being chased out of their jobs left and right, so are paraprofessionals, because they won't use a different pronoun or, admit that there's all these genders. So they're not safe under the union. They can be safe. Well, they can't be totally safe in all the corruption that's going on right now. But AAE and CEAI will defend you. Did I answer it? Yes. Great. Yeah. Hi.
I don't really have a question, but I thank you because I am a special ed teacher, 29th year.
Bless you.
And you're validating what I've been feeling. And today I was telling my friend, I just called the Federation and said, I'm canceling my dues.
Good girl.
I did.
Woo-hoo!
And they asked why. And I said, because I don't agree with your agenda, because we just were told we're on another break for school. It's virtual. I'm one of the teachers. I want to go back. I have a senior in high school. He needs to get back.
Yes.
And so I did. Today I was like, wow, I need to be here tonight because, and not just Federation bullies you at school. Other teachers that don't agree with your agenda or your beliefs,
Yep.
I eat in my room because I just get tired of
Do you hear
it.
what she said? I eat in my room.
Yeah.
Because they bully her so harshly. That was my whole
More
career.
because I am conservative,
Yeah.
and a lot of teachers are not. So I get criticized, and they think it's jokes, but I just like, whatever, so I'd rather just go in my room. But yeah, today I did. I called them, and they said, why? I said, because I don't agree with your agenda. And actually the one that's ahead of our federation for EPSD, he's kind of been a bully. And
Of course, they
yeah,
are.
Yeah,
They-
and
they
I've
use
seen it.
mafia tactics.
And then when I have come to them for special ed concerns like lack of staffing, our kids are, even like this online, our virtual, we're losing all kids, but
Yep.
our SPED kids,
Yep.
they've done nothing. So I told them that. You've never supported special ed for our
Yep.
concerns.
Yep.
So yeah, today I quit.
Good for you.
Yeah, so
Good for you.
I didn't find out how to.
I love you. So stay here.
I will.
And so she quit today. So you'll let my husband and me buy her book.
Yes, okay.
Okay. You get a free book. Okay. So she needs support.
Yeah, and we are.
Belinda needs support. All these teachers need support. So you heard what she said. She eats in her room. They bully her every day. That was my whole career. Because I started speaking up against the unions
Well,
from day one.
And here I am, one of the few blondes in my school. I teach at a very rough school. I have been,
Where they need you.
yeah, but I got criticized 1 year. I had a principal because I don't speak Spanish. I grew up in Houston, but my SPED record is phenomenal. And that's what and these kids, I'm sorry.
And you're serving special needs.
Yeah.
What a
so-
heart.
But, so I do feel it. And not just from the Federation. The teachers that are buying into what they're saying
Yes.
criticize the ones that stand up and question what they're saying.
Precisely. And I'll guarantee you the majority agree with you, but they're too afraid to speak out.
True, but I don't care.
So good for you. So you're the leader. So what happens in the world is we get a leader, right? And it takes a while for the second person to join you.
I know.
But once that second person, then it starts to grow, right? So what she needs, and I'm so happy, this has been my dream to go to churches around the country and do precisely what we're doing. Yeah, what district?
EPISD. Yeah.
EPIs.
I'm on the west side.
So if your church starts this, this coalition, even if it's just the people in this room, but come on, it can grow in this church, I know. And you got to get behind these teachers. She should literally, I know this sounds like a lot, she literally should have someone going to school with her every day, just for a few weeks, help, grades and papers, whatever, because she's being bullied. And isolation's one of the big things they do. I talk about that a lot in my book, too. And they use mafia tactics. There's a teacher in my book who wouldn't join the union. They literally sent 5 men in black suits to her classroom after school one day to harass her. This was in the 60s.
Yeah.
So she really is being harassed, and she's standing alone. And she's this beautiful, loving teacher who deserves support. So we just literally have to give physical support. She needs a mob squad. Good for you.
I personally do want to know if they start, because you quit today, so I expect now they're going to come after you way more than they have been.
Probably.
And I want to know, because I'll
let you know.
I'll be the one that come and sit in the classroom with you, and I bet there'll be a lot of others to come and support you if we
Yes.
need to, and
Yes.
protect you,
And you know
and
what?
I
stand
was
with
needed
you.
to be here to
I am
for
so,
validation even.
yes, I am so, and I would like to, if you can stay after, I will literally dial my phone and call the president of Christian Educators and let you talk to him so you can get signed up, so you have your liability covered.
you.
Yeah,
All right, thank
okay.
There's our amen sister. This is Liz.
See, they were just nervous. Now they're coming. They thought I was going to give them more homework.
Hi, this is my 31st year teaching,
God bless you.
and I decided to stand up because I want to tell her that it's possible. I quit the association, and the attack started. But you know what I did? I got myself an attorney. I went to court and I won. I won here in El Paso, in the court in El Paso.
Good girl.
It can be done. When I did it, other teachers started to come to my room and they started to tell me, Liz, I want to quit the association. What is it that I need to do? Write me the sentence, write me the phrase, write me the paragraph that
She's
I
right.
should actually say to
Yep.
the association.
Yep.
And I wrote the little paragraph, exactly what they should say and do. And let me tell you, I've already had 5 teachers that have left the association this year. Because let me tell you, we are Christians and we know what is being done is not of the Lord.
right.
And our hearts hurt. They ache because we see what the district is doing, what the school is doing, what the state is doing, what the country is in. And we say, I'm going to put this line between them and me, and I'm going to tell the Lord, I'm going to take the decision and I leave the consequences to you, Lord, and you're going to take care of me. And he does.
Amen.
And he does. When they see that somebody stands up and somebody goes and fights, they will come to you. Now, let me tell you something. They come when nobody else is
Yep,
seeing.
in the dark.
In the dark,
Is
they
anybody
come into
here?
my classroom and they tell me, Liz, how did you do it? I want to stop. I want to stop. Even then, you should share and say, you know what? You should stop because of da, 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 da. This is the truth.
Yes.
And we as Christians have to get our light on the table. Stop placing it underneath the table because we are the light.
Amen, sister.
We are the light and we should shine in the midst of darkness.
Preach it.
And what the first teacher said, it is very true. It's in Canutillo ISD 2. The little hand on our web page, the hand, that is
Communism.
communism.
Yes, it is.
And it's in every school district.
Yes, it is.
And we are going to pray it through. We're going to win it. And I have placed my life in the hands of the Lord, and he will take care of the
I love you. You
consequences.
make sure I get your contact. And Liz, right? And you're
Yes.
bilingual.
Yes.
You are key in this battle. And you said something that I wanted to address. She said so many amazing things. Oh, you don't have to write those little letters anymore because if you go to our website, forkidsandcountry.org, up at the top it says Teacher Freedoms and Protections. Your teacher friends can just click there. We give them everything, a sample letter. We tell them how to send it, where to send it. We tell them, we give them, there's a map of the United States where they can click and find their own union, and we help them. And then if they have any struggle, we work with other partner groups who are lawyers and have all the, fancy bells and whistles and can help them.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned those 2 Christian associations
Yes.
teachers because we never had anywhere else to go.
Yes,
I
that's
didn't know that they existed. That's why I had to go to an attorney here in El Paso
Yep.
and say, help, help, help.
Yep.
And we had to pay out of our
Oh,
pocket.
what a shame.
But you know
Yeah.
what? I won.
Yes, you did.
I won.
Good girl.
And that is what the Lord does. When you are strong in the promises of the Lord and you stand on the rock, you know that you will win, and you do.
When we bring our movie here, you got to help me on stage. She's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
We really need to cut it off, but I have one more man here, and I'm going to let him talk, and then I will dismiss you, because we want you to be able to buy a book and get it signed by Rebecca. Yes.
2 things. One, you're talking about how they're going to meet in Austin. I don't know if you guys have put it out. The woman that's running, Jennifer Ivey, for District 1's school board for the state, she's a homeschooler.
So she's good.
Yeah, but she's,
Jennifer
if you
Ivey.
haven't voted yet, remember Jennifer Ivey. I've got to meet her and talk with her. Second one
Great.
is, you're talking about special ed. I fought them in the 80s and 90s, all the way through the school system. That is one of the most corrupt entities
Yep.
in any of the schools,
Yep.
But
You're
my
right.
son is deaf, and he's now working on his doctorate.
Wow.
So
Wow.
much for them.
And you are right that I personally went to the teachers unions to try to get help with the special ed. They could care less about the kids. It is very corrupt. Very
His,
corrupt.
his master's, he worked on special ed, what's missing. He didn't stay in the special ed. He wanted to go to the classes with the hearing kids. And when he went there, he had to get an interpreter and so forth and so on. His doctorate, oddly enough, is to how to teach the deaf science, because they do not have the sign language or the signs for the terms.
Wow.
And he took four semesters of calculus in college, and him and I worked on it.
It's great.
And he did A, and C.
It's great.
But what I'm trying to say is, if you get involved with your children, whether it's special ed or not, they can what? Proliferate.
Yes.
They can grow.
Yes. Do you have a Salt and Light ministry at this church?
Pardon me?
Salt and Light ministry
Oh, I've
at
heard
this
of them.
church? So if you're interested, would love to hook you up. Friends with a gal who started that ministry. They go nationwide and they just help you to be politically involved and knowledgeable. So you were saying vote for this gal. That would be a ministry in your church that someone like yourself could help run, and it would help everybody to understand how to vote your values. So if you want to do that, I'd love to hook you up. And your son needs to talk to some of my friends at the U.S. Department of Ed. I think he could help. If
Okay.
he's interested.
Yeah,
Because they're good guys right now.
because it's hard for him to get employment, because as soon as they find out he's qualified, they also find out he's deaf.
We need him because he's deaf.
Huh?
We need him because he's deaf.
I know.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I know you know. I'm just
right.
validating it. Thank you, sir.
We're going to dismiss
Thank
and let you go. There are books. Remember, those books are $27 retail. We're giving them to you tonight for $17 while Rebecca's here to sign them for you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching online. Share this with people you know, and let's support each other and do the right thing and stop supporting communism.
It's great. Thank you. What a great church. Your dad's obviously doing a great job preaching. That girl was preaching it.
Light up the way.